I welcome all to this presentation. I'm Dr. Mahendra Samarvikram from Australian Red Cross. This is IFRC Data and Digital Week 2021. In this presentation, I am planning to give an overview of what are the initiatives and strategies Australian Red Cross uh, perform in related to data science to enhance its operations, particularly related to data-informed decision-making perspective. So let's start the presentation. In this presentation, I try to give a very high-level overview, and because there are a lot of things to cover. In case of any question you have, please email me, then we can further discuss in detail. Thank you. So our data journey start from discussing the strategy. In related to the strategy, I would like to explain how this our data journey aligning with the Red Cross 2030 strategy. In this 2030 strategy, there are 7 transformations described, particularly related to climate change, preparedness for disaster, and uplifting volunteer capabilities and digital transformation. And also as the last transformation, that focusing in financing the future and fundraising business. Australian Red Cross try to build the machine learning and AI and the data as a core competency to support the rest of the business. This include enhancing the customer experience, marketing, research, volunteer, and collaboration, and eventually achieving the brand advocacy what we want. In this focus, we have quite diversified data that we can exploit and understand and related back to relationship building with the customers that we will explain shortly. So if you are new to machine learning, in very high level, machine learning is set of algorithms which can understand the patterns in the data. So if you have historical data, we can use these machine learning techniques to uncover, understand the patterns in the data, and that pattern enable us to predict the future and future behaviors. When it comes to machine learning, we identified that in certain aspects, machine learning models can work as an intelligent agent. In that perspective, Australian Red Cross mainly focus on data science ethics, and particularly we want to aligning with the fundamental principles of the Red Cross, because we understand that if we try to explore data science and AI, that we need to be aware from the beginning that what are the principles that we want to achieve through this intelligence building training models that we want to aligning. So there are many ethical frameworks can be found, but this is just a very popular framework, but we use multiple framework when we are assessing our ethics related to when implementing algorithms. Now, Australian Red Cross looking a full spectrum of the data journey, data-informed decision-making. This include from reporting to optimizing the algorithms models to predict the future, giving the prescriptive insights to the business to better perform day-to-day jobs. Now, I would like to explain briefly what is the structure of our data science team. In a base of the structure is that IT is actually mainly look after data governance, data security, platform as a service, infrastructure perspective. Data science is on top of IT. There is another layer that we can explore the data within the business. And in this perspective, we have certain capabilities, processes, people work together to achieve high-level business objectives. In this perspective, I would like to focus two capabilities what we recently built. That one is machine learning and AI capability, and the other one is volunteer data science team. During this presentation, you will understand how we utilize these two capabilities. These two capabilities will help, that is used to enhance our business, and also supporting the future focus programs like climate change, war and law, volunteer, like research. Now, in related to that two capabilities, the first thing is data science infrastructure. We recently built data lake with machine learning capability. It has also advanced visualization capability. It is a data lake in AWS. The main component in there is SageMaker, which enable us to build machine learning model quickly deploying and testing on the data. At the same time, we are using advanced visualization tools integrated with this platform. Within the platform, there are like diversified data set we can explore to enhance the business. Now, when we are using this data lake, we are focusing multiple dimensions like privacy, security, trust, and also the data and insight modeling capabilities to enhance the value of our data. That is a continuous improvement process because it is, in fact, a complex data science analytics is a complex business process. Now, I would like to briefly explain how those investment strategies and initiatives helpful for enhancing the business. Very like fundamentally, that customer experience, personalization, fundraising is very important. In related to Red Cross Strategy 2030, also financing the future is very important, and that is where this these initiatives are very important. Now, our focus in Australian Red Cross is that in Australia, there are large number of charities, like 50,000 and more. They all actually try to reach customers. Now, Red Cross is another charity that we wanted to understand the customer requirements, customer perceptions, and serve them well and enhance their journey with the Red Cross. In this way, in this perspective, we use data and their past behaviors to understand the value proposition of the customers and diversify our engagement strategy and fulfill their requirements. So there are two strategies, like we are following Blue Ocean strategy because there are a lot of opportunities with the emerging data. We have a lot of opportunities to like innovatively reach customers and serve their unique value propositions. Now, in terms of data science and analytics, we have what the data science and analytics serve for the business is we are taking the customers through a journey that by looking their past behaviors, behavioral analytics, and their responses, we can actually engage with these donors with right campaign, right time, with right content. So we believe with this strategy that we will build the relationships and brand advocacy, and eventually building the fundraising business. Now, there are a lot of models we implemented using machine learning and AI, particularly the personalization recommendation model, customer lifetime value model, retention, segmentation, then sentiment analysis. We are also using proximity analysis with geocoding. We have diversified data related to our CRM, our census data, third-party segmentation data, and also the past large amount of transaction that Red Cross has. This is a case study that if anyone interested, that we have a context-aware collaborative filtering and recency frequency value ensemble method, which we use to personalize the donor engagement. We use the past donations, their engagement with different campaigns, and we use the campaign attributes, donor attributes, and their value and their preferences, the donor attributes, to understanding what donors are ideal and very close to certain campaigns, and we try to engage with relevant donors. Engaging the relevant donors help for retention, their customer experience, and customer advocacy. Now, that is related to how we serving as a team to the general Red Cross in fundraising business, because in any Red Cross society, fundraising is the main business requirement. Now, the data science team needed quite a lot of resources because and also investment. Because of that, Australian Red Cross aligned with the volunteer program, and we introduced volunteer data science program, that any data scientist in industry having that right skills can join with Australian Red Cross and to help this help the mobilizing this and serving humanity of the serving humanity. Now, the purpose of the volunteer data science team is their diversified knowledge that specialized resources what they have, they can serve that Red Cross objectives. At the same time, as a team, data science team need to uplift the volunteer capabilities, because it's one of the strategy in one of the component in strategy 2030, uplifting the volunteer capabilities. Now, I would like to play a video that one of the our volunteer data scientist B, and how she feel that her service to the Red Cross through this volunteer data science program.
Hello, everyone. My name is B. Changam, and today I'm going to be sharing my experience as a volunteer data scientist at the Australian Red Cross. My volunteer journey started 2 years ago when I was working full-time, but I was thinking to myself, surely I could do more, and volunteering my time for humanity is something that I always want to do. It's a good way of giving something back to communities. So I started asking around at work, and one of my colleagues mentioned the Australian Red Cross. I went to the website and I was trying to find a volunteering program that I could use my skills in programming and database. And I found volunteer data scientist program. In data science projects, if we look at the hierarchy of needs in data science implementation, machine learning is the very last step. So obviously, before the data can be used in machine learning, some work needs to be done. And I get to use my skills in programming and database to ensure the reliable data flows, effective use of data storing, as well as data accuracy and conformity. So basically, after data gathering, I make sure that the data is ready for machine learning. In volunteer data scientist role, I get to meet new people, like-minded peers, and also I gain a lot of real-world experience in data science projects. I was also fortunate to be involved in a few campaigns, including last year bushfire appeal campaign. During that campaign, I felt that we were so fortunate that the Red Cross has already invested so much in innovation and technology that we were able to leverage from the latest technology like cloud platform, we were able to set something up quickly to ensure that the data is available and accessible. So in my experience, it's very easy to see why innovation and technology can definitely assist in improving quality of lives and help tackle humanitarian issues.
Yeah, so that is our one of the volunteer data scientists and her feeling that involvement with the Australian Red Cross with our data science and analytics team. Now I would like to explain a little bit about some of the collaborations with certain universities in related to innovation and transformation. Australian Red Cross has multiple partnerships, and in particularly data science and analytics team is partnered with University of Sydney, University of New South Wales, University of Technology Sydney, and Queensland University of Technology. These partnerships actually help in multiple ways, yeah, and it is mutually beneficial. In one way, in one side, Australian Red Cross meant that some of the students program to helping universities to enhance their impact, their research impact to the society. So in that way, universities get beneficial when working with the Australian Red Cross. On the other hand, Red Cross Australian Red Cross can enhance the capacity and uplift the capacity in related to science and technology to achieve some of the innovative products and ideas. Now, one of our well-known innovative program is mitigating risks of First Nations people related to climate change. In this project, University of Sydney and University of New South Wales and UTS collaborate with the Australian Red Cross. We presented so there are two projects actually. I am first explaining, we have a particular program to helping First Nations people and they are related to climate change. We know that climate change is has an impact to all the aspects of social well-being. However, in related to First Nations people and their perceptions, because they are very close set of peoples that very close to the environment, they get huge impact in terms of their cultural heritage, well-being. So what we did a innovative program developing a mobile application for the First Nations peoples to tell their emotions, feelings, thoughts related to climate change. And we can collect this data through a well-designed mobile application for future data analysis. Now let's see how these applications work. If it is well implemented, that might able to integrate with our data architecture, and then we can further process the data and understanding what are the impacts and how First Nations people feel related to climate change. In strategy perspective, this project's aligning with digital transformation, helping like mitigating risk related to climate change, reducing the gap of health and well-being, particularly related to First Nations people. Now let's listen to this video. This is actually presented by, this is a work collaborated with Australian Red Cross Data Science team and University of New South Wales. They are trying to helping to deploy First Nations people as social scientists to reduce the risks related to climate change.
Project
aims to monitor the effects of climate change on Indigenous communities regarding their health, heritage and lifestyle values in order to sustain and preserve their culture, whilst also bringing awareness to climate change and the community group themselves.
And the reason we're doing this is there is an abundance or a lack thereof of effective monitoring solutions. And what's happening is it's blurring our vision and our understanding of how the environment is impacting them.
Our solution is to create a mobile application that allows individuals to make entries related to the specific climate change implications that they have observed, and then also to comment on the effects they believe that this implication can have on their community, their cultural heritage and the environment around them. To promote engagement, we propose to implement a reward system. The rewards will be linked to local Indigenous businesses promoting cultural awareness.
Working with these kind of important organizations really brings the emphasis on what kind of problems we can solve today and that we really make a difference.
The benefit of working with a real problem, with a real mentor, Mahendra in our case, is like you get actual feedback, and it's a lot more, I suppose, confidence building.
This project has given me the opportunity to make a valuable contribution to a project that I am genuinely interested in, and a project which I know has the potential to improve the lives of everyday Australians and also the world at a greater capacity.
It's more personal to us than just, I'm getting a preset scenario from a textbook, like Vincent has said earlier. And because it's so personal to us and because we can actually relate to it, it allows us to, have a more personal connection. It allows us to really, get the creative juices flowing so we can make the best projects possible.
Hello everybody, I'm Joseph, one of the developers who created the application, and I'll be taking you through an in-depth demonstration of our MVP's main functionalities alongside some user stories to give you an example of what our solution is capable of. The application was co-developed with Ethan, whilst the design was meaningfully crafted by both Alice and I. Before I begin, I'd like to point out that the backgrounds you'll see throughout the demo are a set of Indigenous-related imagery, like art, locations, and people, which is purposely included to improve the sense of community found within the application. Additionally, the majority of dummy data displayed in the demo is being transmitted directly from an online database. That is to say, our MVP is fully functional and syncs across multiple devices. With our solution's main objective being the mobilization of citizen science to mitigate climate change risk, I'd like to begin by showcasing our survey system, the core of our application. The structure behind entries that a user makes is split into 3 sections. 1, data on environmental observations. 2, their geographical location. And the last, opinions on the state of Indigenous health, culture, and well-being. As you can see, we've aimed to keep entries short and concise so that users are able to document events they see in real time and to keep the engagement levels high, an issue which often plagues longer surveys. The split into a 2-page survey gives users breathing room, while a single input type helps to ensure that files generated for analysis follow a consistent structure. We also took into account the data that we'd be receiving and how we can structure our surveys to provide the most meaningful information possible to the scientists who request it. By combining data from all sections, scientists are gaining an understanding of the impact of climate change on Indigenous heritage, but also local in real-time environmental events that may be impacting upon these measures. To ensure integrity when dealing with citizen science, we've optimized for bad data isolation as well, meaning we've simplified the process of identifying and flagging poor quality and inappropriate data that some may send. Imagine you are Clive Bell, a 30-year-old scientist employed by CSIRO to analyze data to find rainfall patterns and trends within Rugby's Lake. As a climate scientist, you would want to be able to monitor data on community sentiment and rainfall levels within the area so that
bugs or issues were caught out early before adding new entries was a fast and easy process as well, as exemplified by the consistent design of the sentiment sliders that exhibit the community's thoughts and feelings about how climate change is affecting them as well. We also wanted to make sure that creating an account was an easy process by providing constant help buttons to allow for help and documentation to progress with the process. Tested these functionalities against 2 different use cases as per the Agile process to ensure any bugs or issues were caught out early before the initial rollout phase. The initial rollout of Custodian, we plan to market in collaboration with local and Indigenous businesses and organizations to widen their engagement with diverse user groups. The gamification element also will be a sole focus to ensure that users understand that being able to redeem rewards for the efforts kept on a consistent basis to continue returning to the app. Financially, we wanted to ensure that we have proposed partnerships with government bodies and non-for-profit sectors within the same interests and being able to exemplify that impact that Custodian's purpose is making. We also wanted to ensure that leaderboard was kept as a long-term feature to ensure that users continue to build a community and friendly competition amongst them as well. And being able to exemplify the messaging function also ensures to exemplify how big an impact Custodian users are making on Australia's climate change. Custodian faces risk within its initial rollout and future implementation. To minimize every time a user wants to enter data, this ensures them with the knowledge that they are consenting to sharing their data and having their data stored within the database to be used by the scientific community. The second consideration was the abuse of the system's rewards, and this was to enable a future implementation of a set limit of how many times or how many points a user can accrue according to their location or postcode. The third thing was also the data quality control, and by having structured data fields, it makes it easier for scientists to filter through good and bad data and harder for users to enter bad quality data.
Okay, that is about that one of our collaboration with UNSW related to developing a mobile app to bring First Nations people as social scientists to mitigating their risks. Now we did. We are partnered with University of Sydney related to another climate change research. That research actually basically try to understand the climate change impact related by measuring the changes in natural soundscape. We select these natural soundscapes as a KPI the measure because it is one of the very closely related measure which can be related back to First Nations people, because we know Earth's natural soundscapes is very much close to environmental friendly people. We presented this in the last Climate Red Summit. The title was Mitigating Risk Related to Changing Earth's Natural Soundscapes Due to Climate Change. The climate change is an important research focus to mitigating future risks and vulnerabilities to society. In particular, we are exploring acoustic measurements of the ecological soundscape in regions of Australia sensitive to climate change. The ecological soundscape can provide information related to social, cultural, and ecological aspects of the climate change. So let's listen to the Professor Craig Ginn, one of our volunteer data scientists. All of the people today talked are part of the volunteer data scientist team. They are related, they are linked. They are in one hand, they are like university lecturers, professors, academics, and on the other hand, we bring them into Australian Red Cross as a volunteer data scientist. Let's listen to Professor Craig Ginn.
Hi everyone, my name is Craig Ginn, and it's a great opportunity to volunteer with the Red Cross and link some university research efforts with the efforts of the Red Cross serving humanity. I am director of the Computing and Audio Research Laboratory here at the University of Sydney, and our lab has over 2 decades of experience in acoustic science and engineering. As an example of our work, we have contributed a spatial hearing aid algorithm for the Starkey hearing aid branded as Acuity Immersion in a commercial context. Climate change is an important research focus to mitigate future risk and vulnerabilities to societies. Along these lines, we can work together with the Red Cross to provide benefit. In particular, we are exploring acoustic measurements of the ecological soundscape in regions of Australia sensitive to climate change. The ecological soundscape can provide information related to the social, cultural, and ecological aspects of climate change. In this perspective, we are focusing on the fact that climate change poses a major threat to the health of Indigenous communities and their ability to sustain their traditional life, language, and cultural heritage. Therefore, we intend to monitor the effects of climate change via its impact on ecological soundscapes around Indigenous communities. As a proof of concept, we are planning to measure the acoustics of natural habitats around Indigenous communities and also measure the acoustics within the Indigenous community. In this way, we can explore the interrelationship between the ecological aspects and the social and cultural aspects of climate change. Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. So I'm an associate professor at the University of Sydney, and I work in acoustics and audio. So I head the Computing and Audio Research Lab. And I'm also a volunteer for Red Cross now through Mahendra, and we've been speaking about soundscape ecology and climate change. And so we've been having a look at that. And so I've just put together a little set of slides here. So basically, it's a relatively new field, really. It's been around since the 1960s, but really modernized in 2011. So it's called soundscape ecology. And it's just like landscape ecology, where you're looking at, animals and species and interaction with the landscape. And now we're including sound into that. And so it's just having a look at these things. So this is the landscape, there's climate that impacts onto this. And you have a number of things. There's natural events, natural populations, and natural geophysical things. You have soundscape patterns, and you have human activities that, of course, impact in both. Northern Australia, offshore, climate change is just going to affect everything there. It looks like carbon dioxide levels going to affect plants. It's going to affect the human and natural systems, low-lying settlements, estuarine ecosystems, coral reefs, marine food chains, and so forth. And so in that area, if you look at what people are saying, there's particular areas that are going to be particular populations that are particularly vulnerable. So there's something near here. What is that saying? Port Headland. I have never been to the Northern Territory myself, so I don't know the areas. But so this study is indicating, for example, area around Broome here at the Halls Creek. So there are areas that are particularly that have people are particularly vulnerable to the change that's going to happen. And so we've been speaking about trying to do a soundscape recordings. And so, it's got to span a long period of time, and it's got to have other data as well, but it's a great time to do something like this. The technology is sort of there, and in addition, there's a lot of good reasons to do this. So we're looking to record ecological soundscapes for research purposes. As I already said, there's a lot of research areas in ecological soundscape or soundscape ecology, but we're targeting climate change and Aboriginal culture. And so we do want to get access to accurate climate data. So that's going to associate with our soundscape recordings. We definitely want to record anthrophony. So we want to get sounds related to Aboriginal culture. We have to identify what are the impacts and issues around that area. We know that they don't like photos taken, but sounds may be a bit different. But this is really to preserve their culture, the soundscape culture, and what it's like to live there. It's just normal daily people sounds in their gatherings, different things like that. And that sort of thing would be easy to analyze in a soundscape recording as well. And then what we can do is we would be looking to place recordings in culturally significant surroundings near where people would congregate and stuff like that. So we would have also sounds from the landscape, so the biophony and geophony, which we can then try and correlate with the measurements that we would get from the anthrophony that we would measure. So if there are changes, and again, we have to be looking for long time scales here. So we're looking to do research. We're talking on the order of decades here when we're trying to get this type of data. And we can correlate those and then obviously relate that to climate change as we can measure the impacts of climate change and we see changes. And this is going to provide society a way to hear. I do want to get some photos as well of the changes in the regions that we're recording, but it's going to give society a way to hear the impacts of climate change, which, it's always good to make things closer so that people get more, closer to what the impacts, what's happening. And if you can hear something and see something, then obviously it's going to make more impact upon you. So this is what we've been talking about so far. And so we are hoping to get this together. I'm currently looking to purchase several of these devices here. So these were made at the University of Oxford. They're easy to get. They've got weather housing as well. It can go to ultrasonic frequencies, though I don't know if we require that or not. We would require that if there are bats in the relevant area, then we might want to go to the ultrasonic frequencies. If not, then we wouldn't need to do that. Mahendra and I have been talking about, setting some up in our backyard just to calibrate them and do various things. But our concern is we need to put these in remote areas, and we need to target the correct areas, and we would need people to help us with switching the audio card, switching the batteries and stuff like that. So while the technology is there and it's easy, it still requires some maintenance and so forth. So that's sort of where the project is sitting now. This is what we've been talking about, and so I'm quite keen on doing this as a research project, but also then to involve the Red Cross in any way that would be appropriate from their point of view. So I might leave it there and try and get some feedback.
Okay, that is related to measuring natural soundscapes and understanding the impacts related to climate change, and that might have opportunity for look back to the First Nations peoples, because Soundscape, Ecology, and First Nation people has some relationship. I would like to now discuss a little bit about future opportunities, some of the partnerships we are still building to do certain innovative projects. Now, one project is the Do Good Robotics. We are partnered with Australia's one of the leading robotics and automation lab in University of Technology, Sydney. This is Dr. Ravi Ranasinghe. He's a volunteer data scientist in Red Cross as well. He is working with the data science team to think, is there any opportunity in the robotics and automation domain that to serving humanity? Let's listen to him.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ravindra Ranasinghe, a senior researcher at University of Technology, Sydney, and also work as a volunteer data scientist at Australian Red Cross. In this collaboration work with Red Cross, my main objective is to serve humanity by bringing our research outcomes to the social benefits. We are one of the largest robotics research groups in Australia with years of experience in machine learning, perception, sensing, signal processing, and sensor networks. We believe that our expertise in these core research areas are very valuable in the pursuit of finding solutions to the impact of climate change, especially to the Australian Indigenous community. We believe there exists a very strong synergy between Australian Red Cross motivations and research values of our university on serving communities in related to the climate change issues. We plan to contribute to gather useful information using various sensors that could be used to identify direct or proxy cues for environmental changes. This is a great opportunity to work with Australian Red Cross and to eventually serve humanity. Thank you. Hi everyone. I'm
Similar to that climate change, what he talked about, there are opportunities that making policies in, because we all know robotics and drone technology, robotics, AI, humanoid robotics are now emerging. They are deployed in different applications, and still Red Cross has a role looking into certain aspects of these deployments and think both in humanitarian and international humanitarian law. There are different aspects that Red Cross can look into this robotics field, and Australian Red Cross is engage with and collaborate with the relevant people who can support this. We still don't know what are the possible opportunities. One we can see like earlier autonomous weapon systems and policy making, because that need certain skills in related to AI, robotics, and humanoid robotics discipline knowledge. We are not engaged with any projects, but this is a possible opportunity. At the same time, there are opportunities in involving advanced mobility devices in related to serving humanity. Still, I'm not quite sure how it's aligning with the Red Cross strategy, but there are opportunities with that lab related to these robotic field and bring those innovative products to serving humanity. We have also certain disaster and emergency research. Still, it is a future opportunity. We are still not actively work on certain project. I recently had an opportunity to participate in a certain research in University of Sydney, which is related to head acoustic morphology, morphoacoustics analysis of ear. That research can bring certain products, can design certain products, can enhance the awareness in certain emergency situations like firefighting, search and rescue. So this is a very cutting edge technology that it's still a research, but has significant potential to design and innovate a product which can serve humanity in more important ways, particularly related to certain disaster preparedness. Now, those are some at the moment. Until now, I talk a lot of projects related to disaster preparedness, climate change. At the same time, we are working on certain projects for building trust in fundraising, because we know financing the future is very important, and in this perspective, enhancing the fundraising business is key component. We recently engaged with certain universities to think how to optimize a data-informed decision-making process. We are using this. We have a lot of capabilities, but still certain research is important to validate and check whether we are optimized in this domain. Following our two projects, let's listen to them.
Hi there, my name is Idris Asolbi. I'm a PhD student at School of Computer Science, University of Technology, Sydney. I'm supervised by Dr. Mukesh Prasad and Dr. Reno Garwal. Our research project is to build an artifact to analyze donors' behaviors in non-profit organizations. So why we are conducting this research project? When we conducted our literature review on the application of data analytics in non-profit organizations, we found that non-profit organizations, or most of them, they have some challenges, such as lack of resources, human, technical, and expertise. Also, there is a high expenses to develop data analytics systems to analyze donors' behaviors, and also
privacy and intended discriminations as reported in the literature. For this reason, 90% of non-profit organizations, they collect data, but this data is unutilized. This led us to be motivated to design a decision support system to analyze donors' behaviors. Donors' behaviors could be donors' intention, donors' frequency, and the same thing will be applied for volunteers as well. The data helps us to resolve certain problems by describing and predicting those behaviors, and also using the machine learning techniques. Also, that can be helpful for nonprofit organizations. In our research project, our research methodology follows PEPFAR's data science framework. We have 6 stages. Most importantly, we have an evaluation stage. During this evaluation, we will be collaborating with non-profit organizations, especially data science and decision support experts, to evaluate our framework, our data requirements, our design requirements, our design principles, and our design features, and also to validate the models later on. Our aim with non-profit organizations through this collaboration, we aim to validate our framework in the involved stages, especially the evaluation. The evaluation will include several interviews and during our 3 iterations in the previous framework. At this stage, we have initial collaboration with data science and analytics team at Australian Red Cross. This will help us, by this collaboration, to robust our research project and validating our models with data science decision support system experts in non-profit organizations. Also, this collaboration will help humanity by uplifting data-informed decision-making capabilities for charities. Thank you. Hi there.
So that is a project we initiated with UTS to drive our leadership, to enhance this data-driven decision-making process that can be benefit to many other charities, and potential opportunity for Red Cross to lead this industry. So this is another project to enhancing how organization can improve their strategies in related to decision making.
Hi, I'm Rochelle Vinavasinghe, a PhD candidate at School of Accountancy, Faculty of Business and Law, Queensland University of Technology, or QUT, and I'm currently in my 2nd year of study. My PhD research project focuses on understanding how big data influences management and control capabilities in organizations. My supervisors for this research project are Dr. Ogun Yujibashioglu and Dr. Natalie Elms of the School of Accountancy. This research project has been approved by the High Degrees Research Committee of QUT and the QUT Ethics Committee as a low-risk research study. There are several reasons that motivated me to initiate this research project. As you know, big data is a popular topic of discussion in many fields. However, very little is known about how it actually adds value to organizations that choose to invest in it. While there are reports on success stories, organizations run the risk of failing to achieve expected outcomes unless big data operations are planned, executed, and governed with care. Without empirical or practical insights, it's hard to improve our knowledge and take the discussion of big data value further. And coming from a management accounting background, I want to explore how organizations use big data as a resource that supports management and control abilities, thereby adding value to the overall organizational performance. While I was exploring suitable case organizations, I identified that the Australian Red Cross had initiated big data and data analytics operations over time. We recognize the Australian Red Cross as an organization which has provided the community a tremendous service over the years. Apart from the ongoing humanitarian efforts, I understand that recent years have brought new and unprecedented challenges to its operations. Being in Australia as a full-time student since mid-2019, I experienced the 2019-20 bushfires that caused catastrophic results to several regions, and then the outbreak of COVID-19, which has disrupted our lives to this day. So despite the distance that the pandemic has created between people, this is a moment that service of non-profit charities is most needed, and a time where strategies of reaching out to those in need must be rethought. Focused on global reach through local action, including inspiring goals, significant global challenges, and several changes, including digital transformation planned for 2030, I believe that the Australian Red Cross will be able to shed some light on how their big data initiatives are supporting these efforts. My research will explore the experience of the Australian Red Cross has had with big data so far. Why is big data worthwhile to an organization such as the Australian Red Cross, and how has big data helped with the management and control capabilities amid such unprecedented challenges? And in general, what can we learn from this experience are some questions that I attempt to answer. By doing so, my study will provide an objective evaluation of the big data initiatives of the Australian Red Cross in terms of how it is impacting management, control capabilities, and ultimately the services that are being offered. I'm thankful to the Australian Red Cross Data Science and Analytics team for this collaboration and for giving me an opportunity to understand the value of big data from a humanitarian perspective. Within my research study, it will provide a unique perspective different than that of a general corporate organization. So this collaboration would add fresh perspectives on what big data means to nonprofit and charities. The insights that I gained through this partnership will indeed be helpful in several ways. For example, it could enhance the academic and practitioner understanding of big data, be useful to further for future researchers focused on management controls, and will also support humanitarian initiatives by enabling charities that are yet to adopt data strategies to understand and draw inspiration from the big data experience of the Australian Red Cross. Once again, I thank the data science and analytics team of the Australian Red Cross for this opportunity. I'm looking forward to this learning experience. Thank you very much.
Yep, so that will conclude our presentation. So I will summarize. So Australian Red Cross Data Science and Analytics team is working to build these machine learning, AI, and data capabilities as core competency to enhance the business. This includes enhancing the customer experience, research, innovation, partnership, brand advocacy, future focus program, a volunteer program, strategy, collaboration, and all the aspects. So this is what we discussed right now, and how data science team working to enhance the data-driven value creation. Thank you very much. So if you want any further detail, please contact me. I'm Dr. Mahendra Samaravikrama, Manager of Data Science and Analytics, Australian Red Cross. Thank you very much. You can ask any question if you have, but we have very short time, but please contact us via email.
I do have a question, if I may.
Yeah, please ask.
Thanks. I put it in the chat as well. So my name is Luke Cayley. I'm the information management lead at the IFRC in Geneva. Question is about one of the, I mean, thanks for the presentations for all these different interesting and valuable initiatives. Excellent to see the work that's coming and is already ongoing. I was particularly interested because of the role that I play in the project around understanding donor behavior and how a data-informed decision-making process could be optimized. Particularly, well, two things. First, the statistic that 90% of INGOs don't make use of the data that they're collecting. I would love to see the citation, the reference for that, because it's quite striking. And the second one, just to understand a little bit more from the project leads, what you mean in this context by donors, and some of the metrics that you're using to track their behavior. Hope that's clear. Over.
Yeah, so so our focus is to building a very comprehensive personalization engine. So that include some classification models and clustering segmentation models based on machine learning. We have an operationalized model, like in technical terms, context-aware collaborative filtering, which enable us to understand how certain donors are relates to certain campaigns, how different donors are relates to each other. So the primary focus is utilizing the data that what we already have. We have a huge transactions in our database, and also we are using third-party segmentations, like we are partnered with GeoTribes organization in Australia to understand certain segmentations. We have Australian census data. So eventually what will happen, we are building machine learning models to predict the certain donors' preferences to certain campaigns, and their predicted donation amounts, their value, all can be uncovered based on the large big data we have. So with that insight, in related to what your question is, data informed decision making, what we can do is we can try to engage the right donor with right content, right time, with right strategy, which will enhance their customer experience. So machine learning is the core capability which bring that insight, because machine learning algorithms like classification models, clustering, they enable certain identify the patterns. Did I answer that your question, or anything missing? Hello?
Yes, yeah, thanks. You did answer my question. I think you're talking about individual donors rather than donor entities, organizations. So that's interesting to know. The second question I was asking is around the citation for the 90% of INGOs don't use the data that's available for them. I mean, firstly, thanks a lot.
Yeah, so there are a lot of data silos in most, because data, the initial investment on the data is very expensive for non-profit organizations. There are quite large amount of data silos. Building this kind of data lake requires certain efforts, time, resources. So I'm not quite sure that whether all charities has this kind of capability to build such a infrastructure for data governance perspective, because eventually what it matters is the data. So the even though that some capabilities in machine learning can be bring into the ecosystem, the most complex part is how to enrich the data and bring these data silos into one platform. So that is the main reason that 90% of data cannot be used.
That makes sense. And it's great to learn a little bit more about how you've achieved that level of data governance. I'll be in touch, and thanks a lot for the presentations today.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So if there are no questions, we can finish this meeting. I will share this presentation if possible, if there is an email or anything for the participants. So please keep in touch, and we are happy to share all the knowledge what we have to enhance the other Red Cross societies. Thank you very much.